2025 has definitely been an odd year so far. We know that BTC has done incredibly well. Altcoins have kind of lagged, and it's had to do with a lot of the negative news that have just caused this uncertainty to enter the market. But when are altcoins going to take off? When are we going to finally see this big surge that we have, in fact, been waiting half of this year for? And what's interesting is that there is something showing that this date may in fact be just a couple weeks out. I do want to talk about the likelihood of this happening. We need to also assess something that was taking place in 2020 for altcoins as well. So again, if you guys haven't already, show your support for the channel down below. It's been growing like crazy, and it's all because of you guys. Now, I will say again, still a very low volume weekend, not a whole lot going on, but for the most part, we've been dealing with altcoin conviction. Yes, there has been uncertainty. Yes, there's been dumping by alts, and that's the big reason why we haven't been able to keep up with BTC so far. However, what we are seeing is a lot of people just hoarding assets, a lot of people unwilling to dump. It's why we're setting higher floors. It's why we're prepping for moves that seem to have never come yet, right? But I stumbled across something very interesting for Ethereum that we've talked about before, but what it's showing is that we may in fact have a move coming by the end of June. Now, this is the ETH BTC chart, and what we're actually doing is mimicking what we did back in 2019. So back in 2019, ETH actually bottomed versus BTC, it bounced, and it started building this big bull pennant. And we were following this, we were testing the upside, testing the bottom side, and unfortunately, as we got into December of 2019, we witnessed a drop, all right? ETH, BTC actually ran, alts didn't really do a whole lot, but then fast forward to now, and what we're seeing is something very similar. ETH bottoming versus BTC, nice surge, us chopping around in this big bull pennant. And what this is showing us right now is now that we've returned back into trend, we tested the bottom, we're putzing around. By June 30th, we need to break this trend one way or the other. So now it's a question of, what do we do? Do we do what we did back in 2019 where we get an initial drop before a nice rally in the market? Or are we more like this guy, which was actually taking place in, March, April, May of 2020, where we went on a nice breakout rally? That's the big question. And I don't have a crystal ball, but I will say a lot of the things that have caused uncertainty in the market have been waning just a little bit. Conviction is really picking up, which is a great sign. So there's a lot of signs that are showing that we may be on the more bullish side of this. Now, that we obviously know that can change in an instant. 2025 has brought us that, right? Plenty of moments where we were about to break out and make surges and looking like we were going to take the next leg. And then you got some negative news that just caused us to drop in the market. It's been the year of surprises, we'll call it. Now, what I will say here is just looking at the total three, if we do what we did back in 2020, we're on a very similar path here. Obviously, we had the COVID crash, which took us to some insane lows. But if you haven't noticed, even some of the biggest black swan events we've seen in recent term, they haven't affected the market the same way. So the mindset appears to be changing just a little bit. And what this shows here is if we do mimic what we did in basically 2020, by the end of June, that might be where altcoins start to get just a little bit lively, where we have the possibility of, by August, actually testing some of those breakout highs, maybe a test, drop down, and by late September, we start to make some even more significant moves, which this kind of falls in line with what we're talking about in terms of a super cycle and an extended cycle, where we might get kind of this shakeout in October. Even this shows a shakeout of about 20 to 30% in terms of altcoins. And then the market just hits hard and rallies and rallies and rallies, right? Bringing us well into the multiple trillions of dollars in market cap in terms of altcoins. Now, in order for that to happen, we still need to have adoption take place. Conviction needs to remain at least the same that it is right now. We have to show some stability in the market. What we're probably talking about at that point as well is interest rate decreases, potential either pausing of quantitative tightening, potentially starting quantitative easing. Obviously, global liquidity is likely to still be on the rise throughout the world. So we need just kind of the perfect series of events to bring us on one of these big booms in the market. You have to remember that the big thing that we're waiting for right now is still all this capital that's currently on the sidelines to actually re-enter the space. We got really close, all right? Got really close back here on Tuesday, Wednesday, and it looked like we were about to tip into that, and then we obviously got our negative news, right? That just, again, what we keep talking about time and time again, but there is a series of events that have to take place. You have to have retail confidence in the market. You can't be getting negative news. The money in the market has to start to flow back into altcoins. We have to get to an altcoin breakout. That's where you start to see retail adoption take place from new people outside the space. It hasn't worked out quite like that since, gosh, all the way back in a little bit in early 2024. So what you need to understand is that the wait could be a couple weeks. It could be several months, right? And this isn't to just keep kicking the can down the road. That's just what the news in the market has done. That's what the uncertainty in the market has done. People need to remember that I don't control the charts. I don't have any influence on what happens in them. My whole job here, I guess if you want to call it, is to bring you guys data, bring you guys information that people don't normally look at so you can make better judgments for yourself. Me personally, I've had a very easy strategy this cycle so far. It's been accumulate, accumulate, accumulate. And it's because I'm not a permabull. I am looking at things long term, right? Eventually, we're going to get into mass adoption. Right now, we are getting into enterprise government and institutional adoption. That stuff is happening as we speak. And like I talked about in my video yesterday, do you think those people are in the business of losing money? Do you think they're getting into the market just to take a bath and watch things drop? No, they're going to keep dollar cost averaging like they have been this whole time. They are buying some altcoins, not all altcoins, not the way that retail does, but they have a much better and bigger conviction than most retail does. That's why retail loses time and time again. But those who have resilience, those who prepare for the long term and don't overextend themselves and don't make dumb decisions, frankly, are the ones that are going to reap the rewards of this cycle. This cycle has been incredibly difficult because of the news, but you have to remember we're in some of the biggest embrace ever. We're accelerating towards adoption, and there are, in fact, fun times ahead. So yeah, could be 2 weeks, could be a couple months. Me, frankly, I don't care. I'm not overextended. I take advantage when I can with what I have, and there will be good times to come. So I appreciate you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think we're going to get this break to the upside or the downside in terms of ETH BTC in 2 weeks? Do you think that we're going to have an exciting summer like we've been talking about? But have a great day. Show your love below. Catch you guys in the next one. Take care.